All right, welcome to Hobby Hot Tub, episode number 2. My guest today is none other than Dan Serbia from Serbia Sports Cards. This is the show where the host, that's me, is in hot water and the guest is on the hot seat. So I'm happy to have Dan on. I know we've gotten to know each other on Twitter. We've had some friendly banter when it comes to uh, grading and the grading card companies and our thoughts and opinions on it. I don't know if anyone ever wins that or who's right or who's wrong, but I wanted when we launched this show, I said, man, what a great forum, just a quick 15, 20-minute show, and we can kind of go over that kind of stuff. And sometimes, as you know, Dan, you know, typing stuff on a screen or in a tweet or a text is not the same as talking and hearing the actual other person. So it's fun to get to do this. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, pleasure first and foremost. Been listening to you for a long time, so it's an honor to be here.
Oh no, you're no problem. So I get first things first. Just to put it out there, I'm someone who's graded for a long time. I've used PSA, I've used Beckett, and lately it's been SGC for me. I like all three. Obviously, if I've used all three, I like them in some capacity. So it's not here to um, bash anybody in particular as far as the whole company stinks. Just we're talking more kind of current events, and current events change, and that's why I've kind of used all three. Um, are you exclusively PSA, Dan?
No, no, I just use PSA because that's the most value when I look at the market. Um, Plus, they're more lenient on some things like centering. Um, so basically, I'll look at a card. If the centering is bad, right away, I'm not going to send it to Beckett. It's going right into the PSA pile.
Yeah.
Um, but as we talked about on Twitter, I'm I've come across as anti SGC, but I'm really not. Um, I have no problem with them at all. In fact, I was planning on using them until I started hearing that they're getting backed up just like everybody else.
Yeah,
So
and here's the thing, but and this is where we can debate a little bit. Maybe their backed up is a little bit different than PSA or Beckett's backed up. They're up. I know Peter Steinberg. Full disclosure, just to be fair, SGC is a sponsor of not this show but Sports Carnation, which is my show. So I'm an honest guy. I want to make that clear. But that being said, I was submitting with SGC even before they signed on to be a sponsor. But they have a 700%, last I knew, which was a couple weeks ago, 700% uptick in submissions. They moved into a new building and they have some new staff. I know some people got a letter saying 2 months. They might be a 2 month delay. I've had a couple submissions go maybe a week past when I expected to get them. I've known other people say 2 weeks. So the 2 months, I think they're saying that to beat that, so it doesn't feel as bad. If you tell someone it's going to be 2 months late and then it's 3 weeks late, it doesn't hurt as much, or kind of softens the blow, if you will. And so I wonder if there's a little bit of that gamesmanship going on. Now, you know, Dan, I can tell you, not on every card. You're right. PSA does bring on some cards, obviously more of a premium when you go to resell them or sell them. But SGC has closed that gap on a lot of cards, including some key cards. And just so I don't want to do all the talking here.
right,
So
right.
just your thoughts on kind of what I just said.
Yeah, one of the things that when it all started, our back and forth was I do videos. So I was researching to do compare all the companies where their values are, basically boil everything down. One of the things that I found, despite the fact that SGC doesn't sell on the same volume, and part of that is because of the population report, like there's not nearly as much created by SGC, especially for modern. But one of the things that I noticed is over the last 2 months, SGC prices have risen. Now, granted, in the last 2 months, the market in general has risen, but
Yeah.
they're definitely closing the gap when you compare the grades. And one thing that I did notice is when I compared, let's say, a BGS 9.5 to an SGC 9.5, it's not really a comparable value, but SGC is more on the 10 as their 9.5. You know, I mean, like their gold label is basically the same as getting a 10 from BGS, where a 10 for SGC is a 9.5 for BGS. Like they come out at that rate the same as
Yeah,
BGS.
something you said earlier too, like you know, you like to submit. And listen, I have a lot of PSA cards, so I'm not attacking you here. But like I heard you say something like I like to send to PSA because I know they're a little lenient, if you will. And
Right.
and I get that, but at the same time, like knowing that, like I want, like if I'm would you say it affects your buying of graded cards? Like you would rather buy a different version, a different company's 10 because PSA kind of is a little lenient or a little lax, if you will, on that. Does it? I guess when you're sending them in, sure, who doesn't? If anyone says they don't want a 10, they got to go get a doctor's appointment, get their head checked. So I'm not gonna criticize you too much, but at the same time, when I submit, I really do. I know it's gonna sound sort of like a cop out, but I kind of want to be honest. I'm taking quite a bit of time looking under. I'm sure you do too. Looking under LED with a loop, a jeweler's loop, a lighted. I mean, looking at the surface. The things I submit are really kind of ones I feel like have a good shot at getting a 10, and so I kind of want them to be honest. But just speak to what you said and what I brought up. Just with that whole PSA deal.
Yeah. You talked about what I would buy. Honestly, the most appealing one to me is BGS with subgrades. That would be the one that I would. Plus, you know exactly what is wrong with that card. It's not just why is that a 9. You know why it's a 9 because the centering got a hit or whatever. And I like the thicker. But you're right. You would want a card in the best condition, but in my opinion, I don't like any of the grading companies, to be honest, because of what we've talked about in the past. Of you can send a card 10 times and get a different grade each time. Granted, that's a serious extreme, but
Yeah,
it's a fact.
it's all subjective. You're dealing
It
with
really is.
it's
It
like
is.
an umpire behind the plate. One might call it a strike, and the other might not raise his hand and just not call it a strike. So it's and I'm one of those guys. I hear talk. I'm sure you heard of it, of automating the process and using computers and I'm honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I really don't like that either. I don't know. I'm not a big fan when we talk about robotics or replacing people and putting people out of work. Maybe it's the old school guy in me and from the era I'm from. And even that's subjective. If someone goes in there on the program and messes with the program or the algorithm, and again, I'm not an IT guy, but I mean, you can mess around with computers and whatnot. I like it being in someone's hands, and hopefully they know what they're doing and they grade it fairly and subjectively and do the best they can. We're human. I'm human. I made a mistake today. I'm gonna make one tomorrow and probably on Monday as well. So, um, what are your thoughts on as far as going into like
Digital.
computers doing the grading?
I'm all for it. I think it's a necessary thing because again, my thing is I want consistency. I want to take the subjectivity out of it, and I want the same grade every time. Now, I don't think it can be 100% computers. I think it still
Yeah,
need the human interaction with the cards to tell. Because how's a computer going to tell if a card's authentic? Uh, but it's going to help with edges, corners, centering.
Yeah.
Again, I'm the same as you. I know nothing about computers, but I would imagine there's technology that you can put it and it would just scan the card and instantly tell you, not instantly, but it will tell you what, pick off the blemishes or whatever is on it.
Yeah, and regardless of what we each one of us feel, which is the opposite on that particular topic, it's gonna be interesting to see where it really does wind up going, who goes there first, how it plays out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely interested as someone who's does a lot of buying and selling when it comes to graded card submitting. I'm sure I have a vested interest. How can you not? I know I speak for you as well there. Um, it's one of those things. I've always said there's to me at this, there's three viable grading card companies. Now, there's more than three grading companies, but to me, if you're looking at trying to get the most bang for your buck, there's three choices you honestly have: PSA, Beckett Graded, and SGC. We're going to talk about a new horse in the gate here in a minute. But the other thing I wanted to mention to you is it seems like I don't know if you've picked up on this lately, Dan, but it's really been like a big debate between PSA and SGC lately. Is when you get into all these threads and posts, it's really PSA versus SGC, and Beckett's kind of like taking that, falling back. And I can tell you this firsthand from firsthand knowledge of many cards. SGC actually have outsold BGS prices. So, whether you want to, PSA. I'll even say this because I'm an honest guy. PSA is the number one grader in the market. Whether you like that or not, that's doesn't matter. Um,
Value.
yeah, and so now the debate really, maybe the debate's not so much that as has SGC passed Beckett. I know Beckett's not going to like me saying this, but I thought about this a few months ago that I thought it had happened then, and I think that they've made even more strides now. So I'm not going back on that thought I had in my own head that it's 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 Beckett now third. I know people probably hearing this and saying, are you nuts? Maybe you're sitting in the hot tub too long. It's melted your brain or whatnot. But I really do think SGC has passed Beckett. Now I know Beckett's got the name and they've been in the hobby, and Dr. Beckett, I've become friendly, and he's a friend of mine, and he's a great guy. And but I think SGC's at the very least number two. What say you?
Dr. Beckett has no affiliation with BGS
That's
anymore,
true
right?
now. That's true now.
Uh,
Yep. Nope. Nope.
but no, no disrespect to him, but yeah,
Yeah.
BGS is they're a disaster at this point. Basically, all they focus on is 2 and 5 days. If you send out your cards to be graded within that, you're going to get them back within just about that time frame. But they're focusing only on that and pushing everything else back. And
Yeah.
bulk orders are just absurd. I used to exclusively grade with BGS probably 5, 6 years ago. Um, I would do bulk orders. They were cheap, $8, whatever it is, and they still had the subgrades. Um, and then they got to a point that one of my orders took over a year to get back, and then they added pay extra for the subgrades, and that was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back with them for me. But yeah, I agree. SGC has definitely taken over, especially with the fact that they're not using subgrades anymore. I mean, they are, but you got to pay extra. So
Yeah. Yeah.
why would
And
you?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, Dan. All these places now are raising prices, raising submissions. You just pointed out how Beckett has taken the subgrades sort of off the table and made them, rather than part of the original service, an add-on to the service, and so I don't like that. I mean, I'm not, HGC could do that very soon. Don't get me. Anyone can do it, but when you got when we call them the big three, when the big three, two of them are kind of raising their prices and one is just kind of holding steady, I think it gives them, that's probably why they're up 700% with their submissions as well. I don't like then some of these, you got to admit, some of these price, increases are significant ones. Are
Absolutely.
significant. It's not a dollar, just a dollar or two. We're talking 5, 10, sometimes more, depending on what turnaround service you sign up for. So I understand they got bills, they got overhead, but we're the ones that take that. If we keep submitting with that said company, we're the ones that take it on the chin, and I mean, everything else in the world goes up. I like to see one less thing do that.
Yeah, I mean, I joined the PSA club uh, probably 2 months ago, um, and they send you a care package. You get a backpack and their price guide, all that stuff, and then they give you a sheet with all their prices. And by the time that package got to me, the price sheet was already obsolete. Like they already raised the prices. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, they said that they only raised it temporary to kind of slow down, and it's going to go back down. But I don't buy that.
No,
Once people start spending,
me and you on the same page. I said on my show, here in New York, where I am, we have a New York State Thruway. Probably a lot of people are familiar with it. It's called I-90. It was built, I believe, in either late '50s, early '60s. It's a toll road. You got to pay depending on what exit you get off, and the further you go on it, the more it costs you. And the New York State said, we're only charging until it's paid off and paid for, and then it becomes a free road, right? Here we are in 2020, we're still paying tolls, and about every 3-4 years they release a statement from Albany, which is the capital here in New York, due to increasing costs and maintenance fees. The throughway has to remain paid, and it's going to remain paid. Well, I'll be long dead and buried, and many other people. I don't think it, like you said, I think it's one of those deals. They say it because it's only temporary, and temporary becomes permanent when you never go back to what you went temporary to. And so I agree with you. I think it's just a nice way to keep people at bay and say, bite the bullet. We'll return to what our previous levels, where I don't think there's any real intention. The only way, to me, and I'll ask you if you agree with this, the only way they ever go back to those original levels, Dan, is it starts affecting the bottom line, which is cards being submitted and people paying for that. If they have a serious drop off, they're going to lower prices and say, man, these increases, people are finally kicking back and punching back and saying thanks, but no thanks. And so that's what I think that's all about.
yeah, yeah. I mean, or if SGC starts, really, really making some progress, some closing the gap a little bit, that'll, scare them a little bit. Maybe then they'll drop their prices. But even then, I think by the point that SGC would get to that level, their prices would probably be close to that point anyway. You know what I mean? Like it's basic economics that it's inevitable that they're probably going to raise the prices.
Yeah. So we're coming down to the kind of the home stretch of this show. I keep mentioning the big three. There's a fourth contender that wants to throw their hat in the arena. Um, they're not. They're new to the sports card hobby, but they're not new as a company. They're not new to grading. They do coins and posters and old money and comic books. I believe they're called CCG, and they've announced they're opening up the sports end of their grading company to sports cards. They're going to start slow. They're going to start with the non-sports like the Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then they're in the process of hiring people with sports card knowledge to head that um, wing of their company. And one of the things their labels. I know a lot of people bashing their labels. I gotta be honest with you, I didn't hate their labels, but one of the things they've said that their stance is going to have is they're going to have more than one grader look at each card. And while at first I thought that's kind of cool, then I thought, well, that's going to really extend how long it takes me to get my cards back if I sent it to CCG. So I guess my question to you, and I'll stop talking here. My question to you, Dan, is do you see them as making a ripple here? Can they enter the arena and land some blows? Number one, and number two, what are your thoughts on multiple graders examining each card and how do you feel about that?
I think the name is CGC. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
I could be CGC.
they're going to be
Anyway,
CGS. They're going to be CGS with their
what it is.
sports card.
Okay. I mean, I've used them in the past. I used to buy and sell comic books a lot too.
Okay.
So I've used, and I've never had a problem with them. That
Yeah.
was back when it was pretty much them, and that was it for comics. A new company has taken over in comics, but still, without any competition, they were still, doing their return times and all that stuff. So I've never had a problem with them on that front. I personally like the look of the labels too. I really don't have a problem with that, but it also could be because I'm kind of used to them. As for two graders, I like it. I know PSA does a double check, so I would rather have two people doing it as the same person doing it 2 different days or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm very very intrigued. Again, it's new. Who knows how they're gonna go? I'm not gonna just send all my cards to them right off the
Yeah.
bat or anything. But I am very intrigued by what they're gonna offer, and
Well,
hopefully they'll
I'm not
spark
gonna let
something under.
I'm not gonna let you off that easy.
Here we go.
That's when you're on the hot seat. So, do you think they give any one of the three, big three as we call them, any pressure? Do you think they make their presence known, or do you think they're just kind of that fourth on the outside of the glass looking in?
Well, they're not great at yourself GMA bad. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Or mint?
Um,
How about mint grading?
or mint grading. Uh, but yeah, I honestly, it's obviously it's not going to 6 months from now, next national, they're not going to be fighting at SGC or anything. But who knows? 2 3 years when they start gaining some momentum, uh, it's going to take a backer. And a good thing about SGC right now for their prices, backtracking to that, Gary V has been posting a lot of stuff with their cases, so that's going to open the masses to actually know. Because I mean, how many new collectors coming into the market know what SGC is? All they've seen is PSA cases being held by
Yeah.
whatever person is telling them to buy
I
cards.
think you're forgetting about someone. How about live from InvestaCard? How about
Yes,
that guy?
yeah.
I think he's bigger. I don't know for sure, but he might be bigger than Gary V. At least in his own mind.
Yeah, in his own mind for sure. He doesn't have the audience, but it's
Sorry,
mind
I'm just
blowing.
being
It's
funny.
mind blowing how many people pay $50 a month for his service. It is genuinely mind blowing.
Yeah.
All it is telling you comps. Like go look on the internet yourself. 130 point. There you go.
Well,
fifty
you,
dollars.
you,
I'll
you've
link
heard
my
you've heard
PayPal in the description.
you've heard my stance on paying anybody
Oh,
for
I'm the same way. I'm the same.
what to buy and who when to sell. Like do your own work, take the pride in doing it. And number one, that information's free if you want to just do a little digging. Why pay someone $50 a month, $20 a month? You could put that money into cards, into your hobby. You say, well, $50 a month is $600 a year. There's a lot of cards. If you gave me $600 and just say, here, buy something you want, I'll find plenty. So I'm not gonna pay somebody to tell me. Listen. I've been doing. I know you're not new. I've been doing this a long time, Dan, and I don't tell people what to do. I might give my opinion, but this whole 2020 year with the hobby's been incredibly insane. I could not predict that, and I've been doing this a long time. So to pay someone else, 2 3 years in, and to tell me or anyone to do that, save your money, like you just said. Put it into the hobby, and you have more money, and more inventory, more cards in your collection than you're feeding someone else's collection to tell you Mike Trout's not a bad ball player. So, it's crazy. And I really, you know what? I blame more the people who pay for it than
That's
the
what. Yeah,
people asking for
absolutely,
the money.
absolutely,
You
absolutely. I
know,
mean,
I mean,
I
Go
listen.
ahead.
I'm not gonna lie. I listen to a show just because I'm a content consumer. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But it's embarrassing. I listen to a lot of guys that I really don't care for. I'll be honest with you. Like a grading company as his name. He's big on YouTube for cards.
yeah,
These
yeah,
guys,
yeah,
you can tell they have very little knowledge about cards, especially when they go live. People
yeah,
expose themselves when they go live because
yeah,
they have no editing at that point. They can't,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Like me right
It's
now.
just
But no,
yeah.
you're right. You're right. And like, all the bells and whistles too, what you say, people can fact check and research that. And
I don't think there's any
once you put it out there, it's out there. There's no mulligan or I mean, you could always delete the video, but by then people have seen it
right.
and are
The
talking
internet
about
doesn't
it.
rest.
Yeah.
Brandon Cookman number 99 that got deleted, and that's still out there.
Yeah, no. So yeah, and that's a good way to close. Regardless of what side of the grading aisle we fall on, I don't think we're as in doing this show. I don't think we're as far off as sometimes words on a screen or a text sometimes would indicate. I think we just want the best for what we're trying to sell and make. I mean, if you don't want to make the most money if you're a seller, then there's something wrong with you. And if you don't want to get the best deal and the lowest price if you're a buyer, there's something wrong with you. So I think we're on the same page there, and I think we're definitely on the same page. We both agree, and we'll close on this, Dan. Do not pay anybody for advice on what to collect, buy, what to sell, when to sell it. Do your research, have fun, use that money you'd even think about tossing their way and buy some cards and enjoy the hobby. So Dan, thanks for coming on. Hobby. I almost said hobby hotline. Hobby hot tub episode 2. Something new, something kind of different. And also get to be in the hot tub and talk about sports cards. It's a double win for anyone that wants to know what I'm drinking. It's Iron City beer. That's from your neck of the woods in Pennsylvania. I get
Yeah.
it when I go. They are not a sponsor, but if someone from Iron
Listen,
City happens to see this, I really love the beer. And if you want to be a sponsor, we can work. It doesn't even have to be money. It could just be lots of Iron City. So, but all joking aside, Dan, I appreciate your time and what you do, being part of the hobby and giving us a half an hour tonight to talk a little bit about current events and what's coming up.
my pleasure.
All
Anytime,
right, folks.
please.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. All right,
Thank
folks.
you.
We'll see you tomorrow, tentatively scheduled. Texas Card Dude, Brad Bethune. We'll see you next time.